BlackRock is utilizing Bitcoin to simply gather more assets because Bitcoin was on the rise. So, and Bitcoin now at the height of Bitcoin, crypto, the entire crypto space was already $3 trillion. Now think about this, ladies and gentlemen out there. BlackRock is the largest fund manager in the world. And they've been there for decades. And they've only managing 8 trillion. Do you think they're going to let the crypto space go from 3 to 6 trillion or 9 trillion or 12 trillion without them being a part of that? You're mistaken if your answer is no. Of course they will. Okay.
Welcome to the Rose Show podcast. Welcome to the Rose Show. Today, I have the honor and pleasure of being here for the second time with Jenny Q. Ta, serial entrepreneur, self-made multi-millionaire, seasoned Wall Street vet, 3 times founder with amazing exits, a CEO of many, I call her. She was CEO of Titan Securities, a broker, dealer, and investment banking firm. She founded Vantage, another investment bank. She had them acquired. She also was involved with writing of IPOs, involved with reverse mergers and SPACs, tech and venture capital, creating VC network, connecting entrepreneurs with investors. Decentralization right there, connecting, getting rid of the middle person there. Love that. CoinLinked, acquired as well. Web3 VC funds, she founded in 2022 and is now rebranded to Wealth with a really cool spelling. You got to check it out with a 28 instead of the letter T in there. And 2024, amazing resume you have and your experiences. You're always challenging the status quo. How you doing, Jenny?
Well, hello there. Thank you, Rosanna, for having me back. It's a super honor to always being back with you. This is our second time, and I know there's gonna be tougher questions. I believe the last time we had the interview was at least a year to a year and a half ago. Things have changed a lot since then, I'm sure, in the business world. So grateful to be here, and thank you to your audience supporting you since the last time I was here. And I can see with the plaque behind you, you grew exponentially, and congratulations on that too as well.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Well, you've certainly created many amazing projects since we last met. Fashion icons, tetherball, meme coin. I want to begin with your journey. It's not a journey that many take, and we can learn so much from you. What are the experiences that led you to where you are today? Your evolution through Titan Securities and Vantage Investment to today and Wealth.
Well, I know we've shared some of my past, with Titans and Vantage Investments on your last show. So we can give it a much shorter version this time. But I mean, I've been out in the world, the tough world, because I started out on Wall Street when I was like 20. Um, what I've learned and how it gotten me here is that nothing gets you down. You know, there's a very famous quote going around on social media that we probably seen all the time, and I believe maybe it's a Japanese proverb or something like that. But it says, you get knocked down 8 times or 7 times, you stand back the 8th or the 9th time. You never, ever, ever get knocked down and stay down, right? Now, who knows how many times I've been knocked down? Trust me, okay? Um, but I would not be here if I were to have stayed down there, you know. Every time I got knocked down, especially Rosanna, between you and I as a female entrepreneur, we both know the data. And of course, I will be asking you some questions about yourself too. So this is a two-way interview, okay? You also run a private fund like I do. We both know that female entrepreneurs, founders, we've only been sharing 2% of the pie, and the men been receiving 98% of the pie for the last 7 to 8 years now. It's consistently unchanged. So that's also a hurdle, right? So as a female venture capitalist, CEO, startup founder, backer of many female founded women-led projects, I have to find ways to build my wealth, make a ton of more money, because I know for a fact that unless if I'm lucky enough to get up to that 2%, which I believe I was a few times, it still would never be comparable to that of male founders. So, and so that's one of, you know, the knockdowns that I've received. I mean, or women receive. And so you got to find other path to go around it, to better yourself, to build wealth so that you can help other women-led projects. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Love it. At the end of the day, it's always about mindset. It's that champion mindset. It's that never giving up and always coming back. And success isn't about not failing, because as serial entrepreneurs, we know we all fail. We all make mistakes. It's about learning from those mistakes and improving and growing. We can always be better, stronger. And true success is about coming back. And I love that proverb about picking yourself up and coming back. It's that ninth time after 8 times being down that you come back, and always coming back and going for it. Love that. So, Jenny, I have to ask you, why this incessant drive to create, to found, to lead, to build? What is your goal? Why? I guess that's the question, why? Because you've already made it. You could retire, but why?
Oh, yes, that's a great question, Rosanna. Really great question. When it comes to retirement, I did retire twice already. After my first acquisition, I was in my late 20s, early 30s at the time. Um, so I took out maybe a year or so, travel around the world, with, a couple of my good friends, as a group of gals. We would go weeks at a time because they still had their day jobs. But of course, I took care of all of the expenses at the time. And then after a while, had enough fine dining, had enough airplanes, and had enough taxi at the time. Uber wasn't out yet. I said, I'm getting homesick. I was missing mom's home cooked meals. Came back home, and then that's when I found that I was being bored. I was bored again because I believe the Lord, to those who believe in faith out there, Allah, Buddha, God, Jesus Christ, Lord behold. So let's just call, I usually safely use the word Lord, right? The Lord gave me a mind. You mentioned about mindset, you know, and so it would be such a waste to not use what you're given, right? Especially being a female and all, that's even more rare. And then when it comes to, like, for example, between us here, you're probably going to be more chosen than that of I am, because I'm Asian ethnicity. You're considered, Caucasian, white female, right? So I had to, had it pretty rough being all that female, Asian. Um, so at the end of the day, why? I think it's has always been the passion, you know. I would always kind of point it to my zodiac sign, which I happen to be an Aries. And I love being an Aries. Trust me, if you're one of my BFFs, Jenny just could not talk or tweet enough about being an Aries, right? The one thing about an Aries is that Aries were born leaders, obviously, to those who read zodiac. And when I look at my life, it's exactly like that. I mean, I'm definitely not a follower. I back projects when I see, of course, number one, it's women led, that will entice me the most. And then number two, the ideas that they bring to me, like recently, I know we'll share more with this meme coin called Tetherball. Um, you know, when I find it fascinating, I would just write a check for it. I said, let's go, let's do it. And beyond writing checks for it, I would get involved if I'm intrigued by it. Because Rosanna, like you and I, we invest in startups, right? As running a private fund. Um, Sometimes we would just write a check and then we would stay in the dark, like right? Like a silent partner. And we just advise, from behind, you know. But it takes quite a project for me to be really involved with the founders or the co-founders of a certain project, because that's a lot more of my time besides my own money investing it. So back to your original question, I believe, yes, being retired is good. I've done that twice. I got the mansions, the cars. The only thing I haven't gotten yet, which I probably will not ever, because I believe it's a waste of money, is a personal jet and a yacht, right? Those are the only two I can probably say that I haven't gotten yet. But the fancy cars, the mansions, been there, done that, multiple mansions, because I buy my flip them and stuff like that. It ends up having to be the passion. And I don't know when this passion of mine's gonna end, but as long as there's still a fire in me, which, Aries is a fire sign, happens to be a fire sign. Um, you know, uh, I will continue because it comes from the guts. It comes from what I believe, and I believe that when we do things from the guts and your passion, it shows. It shows to the world that this is your baby and that you're in it for the long haul, and you're in it to make not only everyone money, but of course yourself for the right.
Passion. That's the word.
Passion. Exactly.
It's you need to have your passions and you follow your heart and you make your decisions from your gut. You get that gut feeling. And that tends to come from years of experience. And this is how we go with your journey, your passion and your journey and your vast experience. It's like riding a bike. I always say entrepreneurship, it's like, the process. You got it. It's you can do it practically in your sleep. It's like for me, I've done so many different types of businesses, but the process is always the same. It's the same type of process. And you follow your passion and there's nothing stopping you because it's being led by your heart. And I love that. I think, and I can tell your passion is helping others and giving back, and it's empowering women. And that's so important. And because you elevate and you bring everyone with you and you elevate everyone, it's that abundance mindset. There's so much we're going to talk about mindset, but I want to get into these passion projects that you've recently created. And I think we'll start with the Tetherball meme coin. First woman-led meme coin. I mean, that's making history. Please tell us about this project that you're the coach. I love the gameplay, the tetherball. You're the coach. Tell us about that and your goal and focus with that.
Well, yeah, Tetherball is my latest project, and I can probably say that is my most funnest, is that the word? My most
Yeah.
fun project ever. Of all the projects, of all the companies I founded, funded, help, mentor, whatever, back, Tetherball is fun because it has to do with memes. As you know, meme culture, it's not as if it's anything new. It probably began with Elon Musk back in late 2020, 2021, when he kept on talking about Dogecoin, if you remember about that.
Mhm.
Then he was on Saturday Night Live, and the Dogecoin community uh, gave him a nickname as Doge Father, right?
Mhm.
I do know that era quite well, which I call it an era, and it's only like 3 years ago, because that tells you in the crypto world, 1 year is like 10 years traditional
Mhm.
finance. That's just how fast things move in crypto. So yeah, so I was actually one of the top influencers behind Elon Musk, Mark Cuban, Billy Marcus, and then there's myself. If you guys want to know that, just Google the top 8 accounts to follow on Benzinga. So of those 8 accounts, only 4 accounts were human. I was one of them. Elon, Mark Cuban, Billy Marcus. Billy Marcus was the founder of the creator of Dogecoin. And then myself, the only female. And then the other 4 accounts to follow were just meme accounts. They're not humans. Like they're Dogecoin memes, Dogecoin this and that. So I began to get into memes around that time because of Dogecoin. And then if you remember, on the traditional side, Rosanna, also around the same time, it was Roaring Kitty of
Yes.
GameStop, right? So the Redditors, which are Wall Street Bets, the chairman of Wall Street Bets and we follow each other on Twitter because at the time, the chairman was heavily involved in memeing Dogecoin with Elon as well. So it was a fascinating era for both Dogecoin and GameStop at the time. So, you know, maybe just a month ago, precisely about a month ago, uh, Keith Gill, who started GameStop, and he turned, not, I'm sure you've heard about this, he turned $50,000 portfolio into what I believe today he has $300 million. Okay, assuming he didn't add any new money. Well, obviously, probably he didn't because he was poor at the time, right? 50,000, typical average account. Um, and if he did turn 50,000 to 300 million, that was simply based upon memes. If you really think about it, I mean, memes, right? So, so on the cryptocurrency side, there are trends, as you know. You and I are both, uh, traders on Wall Street. I've seen a lot of your tweets. I'm sure you go in and out of stocks like I do. So in the crypto world, they do have trends, and it all goes back to the OG Bitcoin, which is Bitcoin. I mean, the OG crypto, which is Bitcoin. Now, we all know simply, without getting too technical, Bitcoin has a Bitcoin halving, right? Every 4 years. And the interesting thing, if we go back every 4 years, back to when Bitcoin was born, there's about 3 or 4 halvings now. What happens afterwards? It's like it's like a duplicate. It's I mean, so they're anticipating what's going to happen this time to the last 3 times because Bitcoin halving just happened in April when I was in Asia. So the thing about the data is after Bitcoin halving, people tend to sell the large caps crypto, similar to stock. We have large caps on our side. So they can get into what it's called the altcoins. Altcoins are alternative coins, lower price, and meme coins, right? So I took that data, right? And when the ladies of the Tether Ball, which includes Kamala, we call her Cams, Michelle, and Kuan Ning, they brought to me the idea about meming Tether stablecoin. That's number one. And they came up with the name Tether Ball, which happens to be a sport that many of us grew up and play, right? So we too can meme sports, types of memes too, not just Tether stablecoin. And that was it. I was sold, and the ideas came around March. Then I went to Asia for a month, and then I came back and I said, let's just do this. And we start hustling around, you know, April, March, but the ideas were a little bit prior to that. And the ladies recently did what it's called a soft launch. Soft launch is the ideas, the website, but then the listing of the token, which is very similar to traditional SAI, Rosanna, it's like when you go IPO, or like when you do a Reg A plus. Reg A plus is pretty much a self filing to go public, right? Uh, you don't have to go through underwriters like an IPO and stuff like that. So the Tether Ball Beam coin will list soon, very soon. So that's when it's going to have its own ticker. And so that's when I believe we're going to have a lot more fun. But that's a brief summary of the Tether Ball coin, Tether Ball meme coin, that you can go to the website, tetherballcoin.com, and you could probably get everything, all of the information's there.
Now, Tether, the stable coin that was launched in 2014, that using that word and combining it with the game of tetherball, I think that's brilliant. I love it. It's so cute and catchy, and that's really great for a meme coin. And it's about empowering women. It's the building of the communities that I think people need to understand more. You're a forward thinker. And you're very early with these trends, and it's important to be early and being a contrarian. So I want you to tell us about the community building aspect of these meme coins.
Gotcha. I like that, being a contrarian. Totally. I'm definitely one. Um, I think I retweeted something out last night about being an Aries. And an Aries is, you know, if everyone can have access to something, I would not want that something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On Wall Street, you and I probably heard more of the phrase like, don't follow the herd,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if the herd's going left, everybody's going there, you and I probably gonna go towards the right, right? It's smarter, better move. So when it comes to building communities, the ladies and I, again, when I mentioned the ladies, it would be Cams, Kamz, short for Kamala. She's from Harvard, by the way. You would love her. Um, and Michelle, also background. Oh my God. Um, X Serious, XM, and then she was with Coindesk, and then she was with TechCrunch. So, and then there's Kuan Ning. Now that, she's a co-founder of, let's just say, a tokenized something something. See, I couldn't even explain it. that literally tokenized the Amazon forest. Now, saying that alone, it's just like what WTF? What the heck is that? But what they've been doing with her co-founders, there are several of them, that they're ranked, if not number one or number two in Germany. The company is in Germany and probably rank number 6 worldwide. So it looks like they're doing something right, you know, for similar companies within their sector. So back to the communities. So one of the things that these days everybody is building a community, right? I believe before Elon Musk acquired Twitter, of course, the man is a genius. I mean, you can like him, you can hate him, but you can't say that he's not smart, right? So I'm sure he had his eyes on acquiring Twitter a couple years prior to that. So picture he start coming out and start tweeting about Dogecoin around 2020, and Dogecoin really took off in 2021. And how many years later did he acquire Twitter? I think late 2022, 23, around there. So if you tell me that that's not within his plans, oh, you're lying to yourself. Okay. So the man knew what he was doing, and he knew that by coming into the Doge community, which he rallied, he will get the biggest community on crypto, I mean, on Twitter at the time in cryptocurrency, much bigger than Bitcoin. I mean, Elon was smart. He did buy some Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin community is nowhere as big as the Dogecoin community, right? So now, after he acquired Twitter, he also acquired that community, because if you talk to every single Dogecoiner, I believe there isn't one that is not an Elon fan, right? And then they became Tesla fans, which we call them Tesla fanboys, right? It all came out from Dogecoin, the bulk of it. So building communities. So here's the final thing, Rosanna, is there are so many social networks these days, right? There are decentralized social networks as well, which many of us, we haven't heard much, because why? Decentralization, which is cryptocurrency, it's still less than 7% of the entire world using crypto. So CoinLink, you mentioned CoinLink was one of the companies that I founded, and it was acquired, was a decentralized social commerce that I built. So I do know a thing or two about social media, but I think I got lucky because I launched it when we had a COVID lockdown in America, which, if everybody remember, that was during a Donald Trump presidency. March of 2020, I launched CoinLink in May. So that year, we took off immediately because my platform, CoinLink, was the only platform that accepted cryptocurrency to purchase everyday supplies, toilet paper, because remember at that time we were all locked inside. So we were all dependent upon buying stuff from Amazon and online. So we did drop shipping for CoinLink. So people pay us in crypto, Ether, Solana, Uniswap, you name it. And it was Christmas of 2020 that we did the best. Because people had a lot of cryptocurrency and they were saving their fiat US dollars to pay the rent. I mean, everything makes sense, right? So I was fortunate, and this is another thing is, you know, when you're flying high, that's when people would want to acquire you, okay? So it was middle of the following year, so just a year later, um, we were approached for to be acquired, and it was acquired, I think, July, August of 2021. So just slightly over a year, and so that was acquired. So back to communities. So for me to share how to build a communities, I guess I'm okay to share with my experience of building a decentralized, one of the first decentralized social network is you got to choose one platform and stick with that. And I'm so glad that the ladies of Tetherball, they agree with me, because if you look around on Twitter, any crypto projects or their website, you will see they also have Telegram and Discord, besides TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, they list every single social icons on their website. But being a contrarian, which you mentioned, right? Go visit tellaballcoin.com. What do you see? You only gonna see Twitter, which is now X. Elon renamed it to X. Why is that? And I'll share why. Because when you are a startup, you have very little manpower, right? You have a very small team, keeping the cost down, keeping everything consistent. Because the bigger the team is, and I know you know this, Rosanna, because um I know you and your husband run many companies. I would love to ask you that uh next. Um we know that we have to keep costs down. And not only that, the bigger the team force that you have, the more errors that you're going to make. Okay. There's no way you're going to control, especially for a startup. Okay. So the ladies and I decided to just start out with Twitter. Now, why Twitter? Why not TikTok? Why not Instagram, Facebook? Well, it depends on what kind of business are you launching. The ladies happens to launch a crypto business, which happens to be a meme coin. Of all of the social media, if you've done your due diligence, okay, Twitter is where everything crypto is. I mean, it's actually called crypto Twitter for a reason, okay? Not Reddit, not TikTok. Not only that, but recently, the second king, or I call him the king. If somebody were to say Elon is the king of memes, then Roaring Kitty would be the second king. But to me, I think Roaring Kitty is the king because he turned $50,000 to a $300 million portfolio. That's a king based upon like memes only. He came back after he disappeared for 3 years. So he came back recently, and guess what he chose? He chose Twitter as the first tweet that he let the world know, hey, Roaring Kitty is back. But if we remember in 2021, he was famous on Reddit and YouTube. I mean, most of his, videos that went viral was on YouTube, and he still has a huge following there. So why didn't he come back on YouTube again? No, he came back after 3 years with one tweet. And since then, the rest is history again. Where everybody's watching him on Twitter now. So that's why the ladies and I chose Twitter, and we're going to stick with Twitter. Will we get on Telegram or Discord and other platforms? Yeah, because the ladies are smart enough to reserve all of the handles, if you know what I mean. Tetherball coin on TikTok, Tetherball coin on Telegram, Tetherball coin everywhere. So they've already reserved that. So it's just a matter of time that they will use it. So right now, when it comes to building community, it's building it right on Twitter. And we also have a private group. We call it the private executives group where we share more important scoops before we put it out on Twitter. So I believe building communities that way is organic, and then you start from there, and then you grow further into in real life events. And like yourself, you built a great channel here on YouTube that you interview people, not only that helps yourself, but also, folks like myself. And you've done a great deed. So I hope that's a long answer to the community's question, but I just have to be thorough.
The world needs more thinkers. We with all this social media, the negative side of it is, everyone wants immediate gratification. But like you demonstrated just now about Elon, which I tend to think he's a brilliant businessman, and what he's created is absolutely admirable and amazing. But it involves being early and having patience and having conviction and believing in what you see. And it's, being a contrarian, being able to see those trends. And you always think in probabilities, there's no absolutes in life. So you make calculated bets or, risk adjusted returns. And you have luck, like you say, but luck comes from hard work, and you work very hard. And so I really appreciate you explaining the concept of communities. And X is a fantastic community. And I also am on X. I love X as a community and the YouTube channel. And it's amazing how we have all these communities, but we build on the main platform. And I think less is more. When you start out, you
Yes.
have limited resources, no reason to spread
Yes.
out thinly, but build.
Yes.
And I love X. I think it's fantastic. And that's where I started out with my social media. Jenny, timing is everything. And it's a cliche, but it's very true. You were very timely with your coin linked with the pandemic. And you were acquired, and the best time to be acquired is at your peak when it's heightened. That's when you get the best price for your exits. And I have questions about your exit strategy. But before we get to that, I want to talk about this halving that you talked about with Bitcoin. And I agree with you. I think the money moves from the larger, the Bitcoin, the ETH, and into these altcoins, the meme coins. And we see the same thing with us both being traders. Large cap, the mega caps, you see money. And actually just recently we see the IWM, the Russell. It's been running up in this past 2 weeks now. Money's flowing to the smaller caps. So we're seeing that with crypto, and it seems like the timing right now is a great time to be in these meme coins and these altcoins. So I want to dig a little deeper with your thinking, the way you plan early. What are you seeing with trends and themes going into this year, 2024, the second half of 2024 and 2025, and up to even, it gets murkier as we go further out, but let's say up to 2030. Where are you seeing these trends in the crypto world headed?
Wow. 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 I gotta give it to you though. One of a kind questions. Definitely. It only takes one expert, especially, you know, I would love to share with your audience by asking you a little bit about yourself, in a bit. But obviously you're an expert also on Wall Street. So therefore your questions are power punches. Let's just say that. Um, but to answer your question first, Bitcoin halving. Uh, I believe the last one we just had this year in April was the fourth one. So based upon data of the first three, Bitcoin should, the word is should, break an all-time high around this time, but next year. Actually, a little bit more towards September, October. I mean, if you place the same time frame, As you know, this is technical analysis here, which I'm sure as a trader, you definitely know technical analysis. And you overlap them, like the first halving, and then the second halving on top of the first, and then the third on top of the second and the first, and then now the fourth on top of the third, the second, and first. You get the point. Then Bitcoin should break an all-time high around the end of next year. So estimate maybe 100,000. Now, there was an article that I was interviewed on. I believe it's called The Stock Dork. Okay, so you can Google, your audience can Google that. Google Jenny Qta, my name, the word Bitcoin, and then The Stock Dork. You will see that the reporter interviewed me of my thoughts, and this was 2 years ago. And I predicted that in this halving, which is 2024, Bitcoin will break all-time high in 2025 next year. But then there's a but. On my Substack, which, you know, Substack is also another media outlet for independent journalists now. As you know, journalism is getting tougher and tougher by the day. With AI, we can talk about that too. A lot of great journalists are being let go from traditional media. So, as you know, you and I know journalists, the one thing they love to do is reporting, researching, and writing their story, right? So, Substack is so good for those independent journalists because you can pay them a subscription to help with their work and it goes directly to them, right? So I'm not a journalist. I mean, I write a piece here and there sometimes for some of the media outlets. I've written for NASDAQ, I've written for Entrepreneur, I've written for Rolling Stones. I've written a couple pieces for them, but no near calling myself a reporter or a journalist, right? So back to the Bitcoin halving. So after I interviewed the stock dork, I believe it was late last year that I penned an amended piece, which means I shifted my stance, right? And I said that I think this time, the fourth halving, it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same. And so I took back what I said a year prior, and that I didn't think that Bitcoin could reach 100,000. But then here's the breaking news right on your show. I've never shared this before. Okay. The breaking news is, and why I'm shifting that stance one more time. Now, people say, oh, shut the F up, Jenny. You keep, but hey, that's what a responsible analyst would do, because you can make a forecast 2 to 3 years ago. But in crypto and even in traditional finance, we have to continue looking at the micro and macro economies around the world, right? You agree with me. So as the micro and macro economics changes, we have to shift our forecast accordingly. Because if you don't, then you're just a failed analyst. You don't keep up with the information and data. Okay. So this is the first time I'm shifting my stance once again, which I'm going to go back to my original stance that was written on the stock dork. And what that is I do believe that by this time next year, Bitcoin will break at least $100,000 per Bitcoin. Now, if anyone out there were to say why Bitcoin has no PE, it doesn't have fundamental, but what it has is scarcity. And both you and I know what scarcity means. But not only that it has scarcity, it's still a technological piece of algorithm that was written, right, by Satoshi Nakamoto, okay? But here's where I believe that it's called supply and demand. To your folks on your channel, they're probably more on the traditional finance. What happens when there's supply and demand, right? When there's a lot of demand and you don't have a lot of supply, it's gonna go up. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, who are those that are demanding? Well, it's all came from traditional finance. And the first one is BlackRock, right? BlackRock manages $8 trillion, right? He's the biggest one. Then there's State Street, right? That's the next largest one. And then there's Fidelity, UBS, you name it. Charles Schwab. They're all in it now. They're in it now because of the Bitcoin ETF that was approved earlier this year. Not only that, Rosanna, you talk about the ETH ETF, right? Ethereum, which is ETH, which is short, which is the ticker for Ethereum. That ETF is going to be approved any day now, based upon our interview today. Any day now. And then next to that, I believe they're going to get the Solana ETF out. And then I was the first one, I believe, I was the first one who literally talked about a meme coin ETF, which is a basket of meme coins, because meme culture is an in thing, right? So with all these ETFs and then BlackRock and then Stage, all of them are coming in to buy the Bitcoin. That's where demand and supply are all about. And so that's why I believe that Bitcoin will easily probably hit 100,000. It recently hit 75,000 already. So for another 25,000 for Bitcoin, I think that's a piece of cake. But I do have a but here. There is caution when it comes to BlackRock. Now, I was a former market maker. So let's just say we know BlackRock quite well, right? The thing about BlackRock is, do you think they really love Bitcoin the same way as the Bitcoin maxis love their Bitcoins? If you answer yes, then you're a fool, because you have not done your due diligence about BlackRock, okay? BlackRock is utilizing Bitcoin to simply gather more assets, because Bitcoin was on the rise. So, and Bitcoin now at the height of Bitcoin, the entire crypto space was already $3 trillion. Now think about this, ladies and gentlemen out there. BlackRock is the largest fund manager in the world. And they've been there for decades. And they've only managing 8 trillion. Do you think they're going to let the crypto space go from 3 to 6 trillion or 9 trillion or 12 trillion without them being a part of that? You're mistaken if your answer is no. Of course they will. Okay? So that's the reason why they're getting in. Are they late getting in? Probably not, because as I've shared earlier, as of today, my interview with you today, the global number of users of crypto around the world is still less than 7%. And Bitcoin is 15 years old. So we still have 93% left to go. So if it's 3 trillion of the entire crypto space within 7%, how many more trillions do you believe crypto will go for another 93%? Right? Simple math. It's just simple math, right? The final answer to your great question is that this is my but. If you know BlackRock, if you know State Street, you know Fidelity, Charles Schwab, UBS, all of those big guns, you're going to know that there's going to be a lot of market manipulation. Market manipulation that will literally kill, let's not use kill, murder the little guys, the retailers. Okay? So you have to be smart now that they're in, not that just being cheerleaders that, oh my God, BlackRock is in, so Bitcoin's going to go to 100. Yeah. Before it goes to 100, how many times they're going to push it down, up, down, up, down before it gets there? And now, are you going to be a part of it that you're going to get murder when it goes up and down like that? Right? So my final thought when it comes to, you've mentioned maybe by 2030 about the crypto space. Honestly, this is my message to traditional finance, which I was heavily a part of, right? I grew up in traditional finance. I've actually got into crypto in 2015. So it's been like 9 years ago, right? Crypto is here to stay. I don't care what anyone is saying out there. BlackRock is going to open an exchange in Texas. You've heard about that. In Texas, okay? And they are going to tokenize. Listen and start researching that word, ladies and gentlemen. The word is tokenization. The word alone starts with token. You don't hear that in traditional finance. What's a token? A token is a cryptocurrency. It's a digital token, right? So they're going to tokenize real world assets, which is called securities tokens. Okay? New terminologies, but it's not new. Those who's been in the space now, I've been in crypto for 2015. I've been hearing about that. Okay? It's called, like, instead of traditional SI, we call it IPO for initial public offerings. On the tokenized side, it's gonna call STO, security tokens offering. Okay? So BlackRock is going to set up an exchange similar to, let's just say, the Chicago Stock Exchange. Probably not as big as the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ Stock Exchange, but there's a Chicago Stock Exchange, right? So it's gonna start out there, but it's gonna be in Texas. They're going to offer tokenized products and traditional products. So that is going to be in the works. And so therefore, come on, people, to those who are anti-crypto, anti-whatever. I have friends who are anti-crypto. You got to wake up and smell the coffee now because it's here to stay. They did not approve Bitcoin ETFs for no reason. They did not going to approve Ethereum ETF for no reason. And they did not going, I mean, they are not going to approve Solana or a meme coin ETF for no reason. It's because cryptocurrencies are here to stay. And how we take it forward, it's dependent upon us as the user, the hodler, right? And the regulators, such as the SEC, and on Wall Street, there's the other one called CFTC and FINRA. So that's where I believe is from now to 2030 for the fintech space, which is cryptocurrency, blockchain, meme coins, okay? Um, you're gonna see cryptocurrency go much further and much broader and much larger. End of story.
Well said. We'll start with the supply and demand. That is always at the heart of every pricing model, is the supply and demand and the scarcity. And we know Bitcoin 21 million, and you see the demand, the total addressable market cap globally, like you said, only 7%, and there's so much more it can grow. And that demand we're so early. We're so early with the crypto, and there's so much more coming. And there you go, right there. It's just so simple, supply and demand. I love how you're always changing your thinking. That's how we have to be. I am the proponent of that. I'm always changing. Economics is full of moving parts globally. It's not just domestically. It's geopolitical. It's everything. It's always changing every day. So it's important to always change and not to have a fixed mindset. So you're always adapting, pliable, amending your thinking and growing and changing. I love that. So we appreciate you sharing with us, Jenny, your thinking. And I agree with you. I actually had Sue Innes, HUT VP of Customer Relations, was on here, and she said this time it's different. This halving cycle is different. And just look right to BlackRock, like you just said.
Mhm.
Look at the ETFs. Look at what's coming.
Yep.
And it's going to move a lot faster. And ETH any day now. And that was actually the question I was going to ask you. The spot ETF, where do we see ETH going? But we know it's up. It's
Yep.
pretty clear cut. And we're going to see the pattern with Sol, SOL, Solana. And we also have all these meme coins. And it's coming. And
Yes.
it's just a matter of time and being early like you are, having that foresight to see that and to have the conviction is just so important. Thank you for sharing what you see with the themes and trends going into the next year and up to 5 years ahead. You're at the intersection of AI, blockchain, and all these decentralized technologies. You are inclusive of crypto, not just of Bitcoin. It's the big one, but you also incorporate the blockchain, the ETH, and Sol, and all these other ones.
Now, this is for my audience, maybe yours. You have a huge following, subscriber, uh, on YouTube. But maybe a lot of your subscribers may or may not know you in depth. Now, can I ask anything? Like, okay. So I know we recently shared that you and your husband um began a private fund, which I began my private fund, started out as Web3 VC funds, as you've shared. Then I changed the name to Wealth this year. That's been going great. We started out with 25 million, and now we're nearly 60 million. And that's not with just new money from LPs. but it's I trade the portfolio. I'm the head trader, and we've made a number of good hits. So it's still a small fund, but we're fine because we're a private fund. Okay, and I know you run a private fund. Could you share a little bit about your background, which would probably take you back to your other CEO hats? I know you're like me. You wear many CEO hats, like your manufacturing, where you have huge and ginormous companies that I don't dare to name them right now, so I will let you name them if you're able. And then why from there? I mean, as if you're not busy enough. There's only 24 hours a day, and that's not to mention you mentioned that you have four great kids, all teenagers now, heading into college, and you and your husband, who happens to be, ladies and gentlemen, an attorney. So, so, seems like a great, perfect white picket fence types of a family that everybody wants. You're running companies, you're helping him. He's out there being the attorney that he is. You're running multiple companies. So, how did that kind of leverage over to running a private fund? And where are you taking this private fund again in the next 3 to 5 years?
What could I expect from you, Jenny? Excellent question as well. You are a great speaker and you were so eloquent and articulate with your questioning. Oh, I really was, this is about you and your brilliance, and I appreciate you wanting to ask about me, and I will be as brief as possible. It's a lot to go through. We can go back to pre-2000 with a lot of this. Serial entrepreneur, been a CEO, probably many companies. I founded over 5 companies from back in 2000. I always traded, was always an investor. I always think of businesses as investments. They're cash flow assets. You build them, you grow them, and you can maintain them, or you have your exit strategy and you sell them. So I had a health club, women only health club, empowering women through health and fitness. I had a spa back in 2000, right when the World Trade Center happened. And I remember that I was in South Florida. So it was my health club and I started it myself. And so I ran that for a few years and I sold that business. It was a very successful business. It was great. Had a lot of fun and I got to do what I enjoyed, which was fitness, working out and, hanging out with other women and, empowering them. And that was always a passion of mine. Then we traveled a lot, my husband and I, and we were consultants for that fitness industry, always having our own business and just helping other businesses grow. So I always was consulting with businesses, helping them scale their businesses and growing their business. Then I started a commercial real estate brokerage, and I love that. That was just great. I love selling property, and I always loved real estate. And through this whole time, I always did investing, always doing very independent, doing my own thing. I never had a boss, never worked for anyone. And, and the true business is learned by doing it, experiencing it myself, the ups and downs, many mistakes. Failure precedes success, and it's about never giving up and just continuing. You're always improving and growing, and that's information. Those feedback loops are where you're learning not only about the business and the economy and the trends and what's going on in your industry and how to grow, but you learn about yourself and you learn about what makes you, what drives you and what gets you going. And you learn about your own shortcomings and what to work on, what you need to improve on. So fast forward, I have a manufacturing business as well. That started back 18 years now. It was an acquisition, and we also just vertically and horizontally integrated it. We have a huge web presence. We're the industry leader in many industries, and we supply companies with their industrial melting and filling equipment. I'm the CEO. I help grow the business with the marketing. Marketing is everything, right? You gotta market. What's the point of having a great business if your customers, the end user, doesn't know of it? You always want to bring the best product. I take a lot of pride in my businesses, and I want to always deliver the best. I want to give my people who believe in me the best, whether it's a service, whether it's with my investment advisory, or with the equipment they buy. So it's very important to me. It's about giving back, and you share those savings with the customer. And we believe in being the creator to the end user in a physical sense. And I know it's like a decentralized world. We are the wholesaler, the manufacturer, and we deliver the product directly to the end user. So in some way, it's like a physical product. It's like a goods way of decentralizing. Then I also do wealth advisory. So I advise clients on securities. I'm registered in the state of New York, and we have a capital group. And that was actually started back in 2016 or 17. I don't know which year, one of those years. And we've rebranded it as Hydra Capital Group. So it's me, my husband is also a co-founder, and we work with 4 other amazing people who are just longtime, either family friends or my good friend Lisa Chang. She's was working with me in my commercial real estate brokerage many years ago, and she's also an attorney. So we have 3 attorneys on staff, myself, and we have a Wall Street vet, and we actually have a psychiatrist, a child psychiatrist, who is basically about coaching, and he's about performance enhancing. Decision making is key, is an integral part of being a CEO. I make decisions all day. I'm always delegating and I'm making decisions, and you make decisions from your gut. It's called expertise-based intuitive decision making. And I wrote about this. It's basically comes from years of experience of doing the same processes over and over again. You've learned over the years, and you're able to make these fast decisions just based on all that experience. We're always working on improving as well. We're always learning, you're always growing. And the purpose of our capital group is we pull together funds. We have other investors before we open it up to others, maybe through a Regulation A or other type of funding. We have our own funding, and we invest in businesses, forward-thinking businesses that are in the technology, AI space, blockchain, Bitcoin, and we're open to other areas, but we're looking at helping these businesses scale. And like you said earlier, Jenny, they're very limited on funds. They have great ideas. They're very passionate, yet they may not have the resources to grow their businesses. And that's where we come in. And having done businesses for 25 plus years, I don't care if it dates me, that's fine. Wisdom comes with age, I hope. We learn more, we learn what not to do. But with that, we're able to invest, and we're able to grow and help others and build communities that way.
I do have 1 or 2 follow-ups. Now, again, it depends on if it's all right to share. But I think the first one, I think you can share. That is, I'll just ask both, and then you can run away with it. Now that you have a private fund with your other colleagues, attorneys, Lisa Jang, um, and you're gonna look into startups like myself, I've been nibbling at different startups for the last 7 or 8 years. Um, do you have an approach of looking at a startup? Because when there's a startup, there's not much. I mean, there's a saying on Wall Street, we always, hear is bet on the jockey or bet on the horse, right? So do you bet on the jockey, or do you bet on the horse, or do you bet a mixture of both? I mean, how do you look at a startup that you would say, you know what? Okay, we're going to go into this one and we're going to write them a check. So that's number 1. Okay. Number 2 is can you elaborate a little bit more about your manufacturing business? I know between you and I, you share, some major players as clients. Now, if it's super confidential, please feel free to share that. But from what I've heard, that manufacturing business is huge alone. Now, I have not gone into the financial why or why not. Don't you guys just keep on going and go public or something?
Thought of it.
That would be a hell of a fun. So those are my two follow-up questions.
Excellent questions. And yes, we have thought about going public at some point. It's an amazing business, a disruptor in our industry. I'll start with the startup, since that was your first question, and we'll go to the manufacturing. There's many criteria. Just like in investing, and I always revert, it's funny when once you're a trader, I'm an options trader, and once you're a trader, you think in market terms because it's investing. Everything has to do with investing. I always think of businesses as investments, and that's what we're doing right now is with our capital group is investing in businesses. It's fundamentals and technicals when you trade, right? It's important to know when, and it's also important to know the fundamentals. And when I say fundamentals, it's not just that particular stock or that particular company, but it's with the sector it's in. Is it a growing or dying sector? So we look at these startups, and I got to tell you, our core investment scaling of businesses tends to be businesses that are within 2 to 3 years in business to 5 to 6 years. That's like a sweet spot for us where we look to invest. However, we do invest in startups, but they're rare because we're betting on the jockey and the horse. We're betting on many unknown factors. It's important to have someone that has some type of track record. So I look at the person running it, the one who has started it. It's also their idea, their business plan, their kind of ideas, their layout. Can the idea be implemented? Is it in a space that's growing? Is it something that's going to disrupt or improve upon their industry or other industries? So it's the idea, but it's also the people, the team. How early are they? Are they just in the idea phase? So that wouldn't be an ideal investment. We'd need a little more than that. So not like so early, but great ideas can be nurtured. And that could be something that I would get equity partnership, and we would be part, and maybe we would be part of the business. And I've done that before. Actually, this manufacturing business was something that was sort of like that I came on automatically as a partner. And it was a business that was changed. It was scaled and it was vertically and horizontally integrated. So we absolutely changed the actual business model. So, so startups, so I'm looking at all the criteria and we look at it very closely on all of those things. And it's very rare to go into a startup. It's for us, it's more of 2, 3 years to 6 years. That's a sweet spot. Then manufacturing business. I'm happy to share wax melters and soap melters are our websites. Back many years ago, we disrupted the industry. It's a wax melting and filling equipment. It's the world's fastest, even heating, energy efficient, waterless melting tanks. And we make that claim. That's exactly it, because we are the world's fastest. There's no other stainless steel, and we use only the highest grade 3 or 4 stainless steel grade, polish number 4, actually. We use the best, only USA made as well. And it's the fastest heating tank that's also energy efficient. And here's a statistic that's true, and it's out on our website. Our tanks heat 2 to 3 times faster than any other tank using half the electricity, which is pretty amazing. And I tell everyone we'll compete with anyone else. And there's really no competitor out there. There's no company that can compete with our technology because we're technology first. We're the technology leader. So it's about using this technology in AI right there. I love it. It's deflationary. Technology is deflationary. And I just wrote a piece for my customers. We have over a 10,000 customer base on newsletter. And I write economic pieces for my people. And I tell them that, in this time, inflation's entrenched. And even though we see the numbers of CPI coming down, because it's how they calculate it, not the true inflation, not the alternative shadow inflation, we know that prices are higher and they're not coming down. There's a dilution of value, higher costs of operating expenses, higher cost of money. And for smaller businesses where they need loans to help grow, it's much harder for them. And so a lot of our customer base tends to be smaller to medium-sized businesses, but we also have huge publicly traded companies as well. But I tell them, you want to save on the long term. So you make your investment in equipment that's going to save your operating expenses. Electricity costs are higher. You want to save on your labor force. Labor costs are higher. Our machines, our filling systems, the automated filling systems cuts down on your labor because it's a one-person operation. So we think of that. See, I utilize economics. I think of society. How can I solve problems, challenges in the world? So we want to find solutions. So we're business to business manufacturing, and I supply all industries from pharmaceutical, corrugated boxes, candle makers, soap makers, body care, space exploration, the US government, Canadian Defense, Yankee Candle, uh, Procter and Gamble, Unilever, I mean, all of them. And so it's really great is I get a lot of feedback from them and I find out how they're doing. It's a community. See, like once again, it's that whole concept of community. So I have my customers are part of our community. And so we share what's going on in the manufacturing, in the business, in the retail space. So it helps with other decision making that we have with other businesses or even this business. Our goal is to help others. And of course, we benefit, like you said, we all benefit. Our business is growing and we're able to help other businesses grow as well.
Wow, so nice. So, yes, thank you so much for sharing that with not only your audience and that of ours on this side. Of course, we're going to share this once when it's published, but that's just like fascinating. So, um, but just another tag follow up. Why not IPO? You thought about that? You didn't answer that. Okay, can you share that? Why not take it? It sounds like a fascinating company that, if publicly traded, it could go so much more in terms of multiple from the public.
Excellent. Actually, the past, I'd say, year, we've been tossing, just like you said, you think about it years before, and then you really get more serious. So a few years ago, we started tossing around the idea, maybe want to go public, and we're like, oh, maybe we do a SPAC, maybe we do something like that. And then, you get caught up with other stuff and you get busy, and we're like, oh, we'll keep it private. We have that's another thing. I have 3 sons, not 4. No, no more.
Oh
We don't
yeah.
need any more. 3 sons, and they're all early entrance to college. And we're like, oh, maybe we could keep it as a private business that they can continue to grow. And they're involved with it. And we try to teach them business through that business model and showing them about finance and business. So we're like, oh, maybe we'll just keep it private. It's been great. And, our exit strategy initially was, okay, we can build this business and we can eventually sell it. And then, or we can do an IPO, or we could do a SPAC, and we can go public. And, or we can just keep our general manager and our great team that we have and just keep it cash flowing. It cash flows, it's growing, we're building equity. So there's so many different strategies with businesses. I've sold many businesses. I've built and sold many. And then there are a few I've held on to and I've kept, and real estate's one of them. And now this business, and we're enjoying the great cash flow and growth. But this is something we've thought about more seriously this past year. And more than anyone, Jenny, that when you set up a business to sell versus maintain, there are different steps that are needed.
Right.
So,
Right.
right. So right
Yes.
now we're going through those different steps with the anticipation of opening up those options to doing that, but it takes time. So we're in that process of opening up those options because it's been set up as our own business that has been great and we've enjoyed it. And I enjoy my customers and I enjoy helping others. And, I always say it's a relationship we build with our customers because as they grow, we grow.
Well, certainly, everything in life has a pro and a con, right?
Mhm.
Going public, everybody thinks is a great thing, but it takes a lot to go public. So, there's nothing wrong with keeping a company private with a nice cash flow, as you mentioned. So all in all, it's, sounds like, you and your husband and your small group of circle of, friends or limited partners,
Mhm.
LPs that you may have. Seems like you have a great plan there. And I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to, if it's not broken, don't fix it,
Mhm.
right? So especially on a company that has a nice cash flow. And also for your three sons, when they're done with college, they can maybe take over, and maybe they'll take it public then. Never know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you.
But yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I
I've learned
appreciate.
a lot from this time around with asking you back some of those questions.
Thank you. And I wonder if some of it resonates with you, because as I read many of the publications and your interviews, I see that we have a lot of similar mindset. And I want to talk about the mindset, because that's so important. As you know, entrepreneurship's hard. There's so many down days. There's so many times things don't work out, but you got to keep going for it. It's like that proverb that you mentioned about falling down. And that's exactly what entrepreneurship is. I feel like, we're always going for it. And that's the kind of person I am. I'm the one here that's always going for it. I'm trying different marketing campaigns, different strategies. I'm trying this, I'm trying that. We try new products and we're testing the market and we're seeing what works and what doesn't. And and there's many that don't work, but that's how you find the golden one. That's how you
Mhm.
find the one that does work. It's through trying many different things. And the one that you may least expect is the one that actually nails it. So failure is
Yes.
part of the process. And I always say I
Yep.
embrace that. And it's
Yes.
not anything personal. It's not about ego. We left the
Right.
ego at the door. I mean, we left that a long time ago. There's no ego here. It's just about being the best we can be and always raising that bar. And, that's just key. So I want to talk about fashion icons, because you've certainly raised the bar. Jenny, I'm so impressed. Here you are, you're Wall Street vet, and you're in crypto, and now you're generative AI. I mean, this is amazing. You know, I believe in you. I know you have a proven track record, you have that foresight. So the fact that you're in this means there's something hot there. So tell us how you're connecting these creators and designers directly with consumers. And Phygital, I love that word, Phygital luxury fashion house that blends generative AI and decentralized technology. How did you come up with this? And tell us about it, please.
Wow. Yes, Fashion Icons is another project that I also take it to heart, because it began with an idea from one of the co-founders. Again, it wasn't my idea. I'm very blunt and truthful with everything. Um, After my third exit, I was about to wrap things up. I said, no more CEOs for me. I'm just gonna be a general partner, running my fund, kicking it back, and that's it. I'm done with being a CEO of anything. Okay. But then one of my old pals, he's one of the three co-founders of Fashion Icons. His name is Stephen Mead. Now, if you know Stephen, of course, he's older than I am, obviously. He's a boomer, so lots more experience. But in my lifetime, I know a lot of people who are a lot older than me, and I know a lot of people who are younger than me, like Gen Z or young millennial. So I'm just perfect right there in the middle, right? So Steven came to me one day, but it was perfect timing. You know how you and I keep talking about timing is everything? So he came to me right after I haven't talked to him since COVID lockdown or pre-COVID. And then after I my third exit was acquired towards August, September of 2021, he came out of the blue somewhere and reached out. And you know how old friends are. You just pick things up, even though you
Mhm.
haven't talked for like a couple years, just like you and I did, right? We haven't chit chat for a few years, and you actually sent. I was surprised that you remember my birthday. You sent me a text message wishing me my birthday. I was like, wow. So, so we've been keeping in touch once in a while. So Stephen came to me. That was during the time, if you remember, NFTs were flying high. The punks, the apes. There was a $69 million piece of NFTs that went through one of the auction houses, the traditional auction houses. What is it? What was you're in New
Sotheby's?
York. Yes, something like that. I forgot exact, but it's one of those, okay? They auction an NFT for the first time ever, and it was that piece sold for like what, $69 million. That was the bull run of
Mhm.
non-fungible tokens, NFTs. Then everything, the Justin Bieber, all the celebrities started buying themselves an NFT, which was the ape, the punks, or whatever it was. I could barely keep up. And I keep up a lot, right? So it was around that time that Steven came to me and said, Jenny, yes, Steven, fashion is a $3 trillion industry and it's not stopping anytime soon. I said, I agree. I mean, who isn't fashionable? Who isn't into fashion, right? I mean, we're all into fashion one way or another, right? Um, so then we sat down and he started talking to me about digital fashion. And that was the first time I heard about it. I thought, okay, that's interesting. And so it was January of last year, 2023. We got together, we pull a bunch of folks that we know from each of our Rolodexes. And it was around the first few days of New Year, because again, timing again, because that was when we had friends from other countries and they were here to celebrate the new year, right? So before they headed back, we make sure to gather them all and pitch them this fashion icon story. And lo and behold, we immediately lock a seven figure, as you and I have been talking about. Bet on the jockeys, bet on the horse. These, fashion icons started out with three very high-end jockeys. That's Steven, myself, and another co-founder, and her name is Anna Bot. Anna Bot is more secluded because she comes from, I don't want to share too much about her. She comes from wealth, but not in America. Okay. I will just leave it as that. Steven and Anna they've done a couple businesses prior to. And so I met Anna through Steven. So then immediately we all click. Anna is a Scorpio. I'm an Aries. So Scorpio and Aries, they do share the same planet called Mars. Although a Scorpio has a second planet on their own. Okay, but just Mars. Both the Aries and the Scorpio share more Mars. So anyway, so we all have skin in the game. What that means, skin in the game, mean we each write a six-figure check to put into the company, in addition to, you know, the initial round that we raised. So to skip a bunch of stuff, we started building the platform. There was really no CEOs or anything official, right? And I think about a year had gone by. This is now the beginning of this year, because again, we raised the first seven-figure January of last year. Um, the board, you know, decided that I should be the CEO. So I had an exclusive interview with Elle magazine, the fashion house Elle, but out of their India arm. As you know, Vogue, Elle, they have, you know, different locations everywhere around the world. You can be on the cover of Elle from Vietnam. You could be on the cover of Elle from India, China, US, Europe, France, you name it. There's covers of Vogue L's from different countries. Now, why India, right? Because I was connected there by a billionaire. Okay. Um, I met him in one of my trips out in your neck of the woods. I did mention his name on my pinned tweet. I mean, on my pinned post on my Instagram page, not on my Twitter. It's on my Instagram page. It's pinned. It's the middle post. Okay. So during one of my business trips out into New York, I was introduced to this billionaire. And he was asking me questions like you're asking me. What are you up to, Jenny? What are you doing? So I was always genuine, and I say, well, you know, the board of a digital fashion house, which is called Fashion Icons, a name that I had coined, not Steven, not Anna. Steven's idea, but I was the one who coined the name. Okay. So I was telling him, I say, you know, they want me to be CEO, the board. I've been CEOs all my life. I'm okay, but I just don't feel like going through all the PR stuff. You know, PR, right? The press releases, the interviews, you know, I'm just tired, you know, so I don't know, you know. And then he said, "Well, I'll make it easy for you, Jenny." So my eyes popped just open, right? And he said, "I'll introduce you to L India. They're my friends out there." And and I say, "Oh, no, 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 I'm not a model. I'm definitely not a model. I don't want to be on the cover page of anything, cover. I'll leave that to the models that I'll be hiring, and I'll put them on the cover pages." And so, they gave me a full interview at the same time that it was, uh, what is that global holiday for women? There's a,
Women's
it
Day,
was
is it
in
March
March.
8th?
Yes, yes, yes. So it was, what's the name of it? I forgot. Is it some
It's
women around
I think it says
women's
National, is it Women's
National
Day?
Women's Day?
Yeah.
Yes, National Women's Day. So they publish it right on National Women's Day. And I freak because I gave them the interview way back in January. And I did not know that it could be held onto it that long. And I didn't mind because I wasn't ready to be the CEO again, to be honest. I love fashion icons. I would not have written checks for it if I didn't believe it. So it came out, and so I thought, oh my God, this is faith. Now, Was that intentional or was that not? I mean, it's still right there. Just Google L Jenny Q Ta, you will see it. They actually came out on March 7th, which was in India. So that's like, Women International Days, for us is March 8th. So I said, no, I'm not going to make this about me, myself, and I. So normally, you know how when we get media hits, you would take it and you blow it all out on your Instagram, on your Twitter. Say, oh, thank you. I've done that many times, I'm in TechCrunch. I'm in this. I'm in that. Thank you. But I didn't do that this time around because it's Women International Day. And it should be the women around the world. It's not about a selfish Jenny Ta that is, arrogant or conceited and gloating about herself being interviewed in L, right? So I actually kept it on the lowdown. I did not. I'm sure people from India, they've read it because it was the same week, if you Google the news, that the richest man in India, he was having an engagement party for his son. So they flew out guests like Bill Gates, singer Rihanna, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg. They were all dressing in Indian outfits for this event. And Elle magazine of India was covering this event. And right there was my story. Now, if I had to choose between Elle USA, Elle Europe, or Elle whatever, trust me, I would definitely choose Elle India to be published, right? So that even gave me more pressure, you know? And so I did not release it on my social media, I think until a month later. So probably either the end of March or early April. I forgot. I think the end of March, right before I left to Asia. That was when everyone here knows about it, obviously in America, because it's to my following. So back to fashion icons. I led um a filing of what it's called an IP portfolio, consists of trademarks and patents and trade secrets, right? Patents that I personally put together with some original ideas from Steven and that from Anna Bot. Um, her last name is Bach, Anna Bot. So we file a couple patents. It is fidgetal fashion, which is a combination, a hybrid between digital fashion and physical fashion. So I can't really share about the patents, but uh, we have not launched yet for a number of reasons. Number one, on the Web3 digital side, NFTs, since the idea, has tumbled 99.99%. Okay, literally 100%. All of the celebrities or everyone who's been buying those Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, you probably heard about it, or them punks or all of them NFTs, they're pennies on a dollar right now. Pennies on a dollar. I mean, you're talking about Justin Bieber. He bought his NFT for, I think, 1.6 million. Guess how much it is worth now? Under 100,000. And that's Justin Bieber's NFT. So companies, the number one company that was behind all these NFTs had to be OpenSea. OpenSea, right?
The exchange for
It
NFTs. Yeah.
Right. So they were the exchange for you to buy and sell NFTs. They've raised so many rounds. I I stopped. I couldn't keep up. Hundreds of millions of dollars, one time placing them at a $13 billion valuation. And I thought they were about to go public. But now, the last time I checked, less than 5 billion now. So all of the VCs who came in on that last round, they literally are swimming in a
Mhm.
bloodbath. Okay. You know what I mean, right?
They're upside
So
down, big time.
upside down, huge time.
Mhm.
Valuations are upside down. Um, I don't hear much about OpenSea anymore. There's not a lot of PR, not a lot of news. There's no more celebrities pumping it anymore. Everybody, when they hear the word NFTs, NFT or NFTs plural, they probably say, "Nah, man, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not interested." So, do I believe NFTs are out and over? No, no, definitely not. Um, we're gonna come back, but it's probably gonna be after Bitcoin hitting an all-time high, which is probably next year. So, as any smart entrepreneur, like anyone out there, you, myself, you do know that why launch a platform? And Fashion Icon has a piece of OpenSea, but it also has AI technologies embedded to it, right? So we rather hold it back from launching and rather continue building out the generative AI part, because as you know, AI, it needs time for testing, right? Like ChatGPT or Google has one, or even Instagram now. They're utilizing the users to test their AI. So we're testing our own AI. So we're at the what it's called a an R&D stage, research and development. So we're right there because AI, as you know, you're also interested in investing AI. It's still very new. And even the wealthiest man in the world, like Elon Musk, he just raised what, $6 billion for his AI that's connected to either Tesla or Twitter. That's he's gonna burn that pretty quickly. Okay. And ChatGPT, they've been trying to raise a round for the parent company, OpenAI. I believe they're trying to raise 100 billion to go public at who knows, $1 trillion valuation. That's the last time I've heard is OpenAI want to raise a private round now at $1 trillion valuation so they can go public probably what, 2 trillion? I have no idea. I don't know how well that is going, but again, all of these AI giants are raising billions upon billions of dollars. For a small company like Fashion Icons, it's definitely going to take us some time. But the one thing that I do know that Fashion Icon has that other digital fashion companies don't have is our IP portfolio. And that in itself, if I were to flip Fashion Icons again to traditional fashion houses like LVMH, which is Louis Vuitton, or other traditional fashion houses, I think we can easily made make a 10 to 30x based upon the original investors who put their money into Fashion Icons.
Very nice. That's a very nice return right there. Now, Jenny, I don't want to ask you too much. I know you're waiting for the full launch, which is beautiful. I mean, timing is everything, and you know when to strike. You know it. You're still working on the beta. You're working on the testing and you're building. And that's admirable. I want to ask about more of an overview, your strategies, the exit strategies that you utilize. You have had many acquisitions. You've built businesses and you've sold them. Do you go in? I know we're always changing, like we said before, our mindset, our thinking, our plans are changing. But do you go into businesses with the plan of selling them at some point, at some peak, like fashion icons? Is that something that you think about? Or are there any businesses that you say, this is something I want to hold on to?
Wow, Rosanna, that is definitely another great question. Again, you can pretty much patent all of your questions. Pretty much. I've been interviewed a lot, and your questions are the one that pretty much flip me upside down with these kind of questions. Which of course I have not been asked before. Um, Personally, again, when you run a company, a startup, it depends, right? First of all, if that startup is just yourself, like Jenny Ta, and Jenny Ta, then I would say safely that my core goal is to always flip my companies.
Mm.
Okay. Because look, I'm a trader, right? Uh, of course, I build companies within the right sector, the right timing, launching it right or not launching it. Remember, I shared with you how I launched CoinLink. It was in the midst of a COVID lockdown. But that time, that business was the right thing to do because it was a social commerce. And I was accepting cryptocurrency knowing that everyone was reserving their cash to pay rent. So that nailed it and it hit right out the park, right? But with fashion icons, yes, we are in an AI boom, which fashion icons, we have AI as part of it. But the NFTs, the digital fashion side of it is dead in the water. So that doesn't help at all. So when you come out, when you launch, who are you going to market to? Who's going to be your buyers? Who's going to be your clients?
Mm.
I mean, OpenSea has raised hundreds of billions and they're dead in the water now. What makes fashion icons barely raise a few seven figures can survive, right? So not only that, on the AI side, which I've shared, we compare with, you know, um, Elon Musk, OpenAI, they're raising billions. We're certainly, we can't raise billions. So with fashion icons, since I do have co-founders, just like Tetherball Coin, they have co-founders. It's a discussion among everyone to make sure that everyone is comfortable if there is an acquisition. Now, obviously, it's a huge clue when I'm a part of anything, everybody in that group, if it's not Tetherball or if it's fashion icons, we would have already discussed about an M&A, which is a merger and acquisition and being acquired. Because prior to me accepting the CEO of fashion icons, I wanted to make sure that they're with me. If I happen to run into, like I've shared with you, the billionaire that I ran into when I was in New York and my interview with L India. Um, so it depends. But if you were to ask me solely, is that a word? By myself? Yeah. I build companies to flip 10, 20, 30, 100x. I would flip them because everything has a price. And I've always told myself that if I'm going to fall in love with anything, I would fall in love with a human being, not a product. Okay. So not a stock, not a Bitcoin, not, yes, I fall in love with it when I launch it because there's passion, but everything has a number. And once when that number is hit, you got to let it go and let somebody else, run it to the next destination. So to summarize, even the ones that I have partners like Tetherball and that fashion icons, um, I believe if the right price is to come, everything is for sale, and that the ladies of Tetherball, because now we built a brand, a very strong brand, unlike any other meme coin. Okay, Tetherball has a very strong brand. Um, we've been asked about having that brand acquired already. Okay, but we believe it's still early enough that we're gonna keep going because we have not listed the token yet. Fashion icons, I have been approached too for the brand, because you look at fashion icons, the name alone, that's a huge brand, and that's been trademarked. Our IP portfolio, but the number hasn't hit where I want it yet, so we're gonna keep going. So until a number is correct, is what we want, then obviously my exit strategy for everything I have done in my life has always been to let it go through a merger, an acquisition, and let someone else take over and run it.
That's a great answer. You are into the part of founding it, building, growing, and it has a price at some point. And that leads to my next follow-up question, the letting go. And life and business mimics life, just like life mimics business and trading. And we're all traders. And it's about letting go in life too. Change is inevitable. We change, people change, everything changes. And we need to embrace that. And we need to know when to let go. So when it comes to businesses, Jenny, you're a pro. You're an expert at letting go and knowing when to let go. So I have to ask you, is this a gut feeling? Is it a feeling you just get that this is time? Or is there a number? Is there something that you look for? How do you pinpoint that timing?
Well, I would say of all of the teams, partners, companies I've worked with, and there's a lot to count, right? The Tetherball co-founder ladies that I quote unquote babysit the most. They are super intelligent women, okay? But at the end of the day, when it comes to experiences that has to do with the SEC, because crypto is connected directly with the SEC. And your husband is a blockchain attorney. I'm sure you know that. Um, startups would die if every single question or action that they want to make, they have to pick up the phone and call a lawyer. Okay. And then you know what happens. The lawyer's going to send them an invoice, right? So by me babysitting them, again, this is their project. I'm just a backer and a coach. That's my strength. And I've sat on stages. There was one time, I believe it was in Seattle, Washington. there were 4 men. It's still on my Instagram, and myself. And I believe all of those 4 men were security lawyers. All men. I was the only woman, and I was not, and I'm still not a lawyer. But just because of that, that doesn't mean that they would intimidate me. At the end, actually, 2 of those lawyers came up to me and said, "Jenny, wow, you should really consider being a lawyer, because without you, sharing first that you're not a lawyer, and then you share all that, who's going to believe?" Right? So, so that's my strength. I know my stuff from founding 2 investment banks from the ground up, okay, without any lawyers helping me doing that. That's how strong I am, and I will ever always gonna say that. So, I saved the ladies a lot of expenses when it comes to that. And not only that, they can sleep really well at nighttime, knowing that their decisions are not just winging it, if you know what I mean. You know how the Gen Z, these days, say, "Oh, let's just wing it." We're not winging it. So of course, anytime when I'm uncertain, then of course that's when I'll pick up the phone and call one of my lawyer friends, right? And say, "Hey, you're a lawyer. Answer me this," right? So to answer your question, you know, um, I think at the end of the day, what I wanted to share was that these ladies know that I'm very good with numbers. Let's call it math. They always said Jenny is very good at math. Math is numbers, right? Um, and so when it comes to numbers, like I mentioned, um, it's not a feeling, it's always a calculated number when it comes to being acquired or talking about mergers and acquisitions or a potential acquisition. Because at the end of the day, you have to put your efforts, your time, your ideas, your brand, like Tetherball coin is a brand now, okay? Probably next to Dogecoin, which is the OG of meme coins, and it was the first meme coin, the most popular meme coin. Tetherball is really out there of who we're memeing and the name. So it's not about a feeling like you wake up and say, "Okay, I wanted to sell XYZ company for 100 million or 200 million or whatever." We've sat down with the co-founders. We came up with certain scenarios. Everybody drops, a folded piece of paper with a number in a bucket. And then we open it all up to see where we're at, who's high, who's low, why did they choose that number, why did whatever. And then we discuss it and we come out with a number. We do have a number. We do have a number for fashion icons, and we do have a number for Tetherball. So if a number comes in with an offer that's lower, we know immediately that we say, "No, we're not interested." It's very quick. There's no if, ands, or but. But if the number hits like near the number that we have, oh, we're gonna entertain that and we're gonna talk about it. And so I hope I answer your question when it comes to, being acquired. How do I know that? It's first of all, like you've shared, it's through building out that passion, that idea, being at the right time, putting out enough capital to run it so it doesn't die before you get acquired. And then when it's time to get acquired, you know, they gotta hit that number. There is a low, there is a high. So anytime in between, I mean anywhere in between, we would definitely entertain it. Um, and that's where usually I lock most of my deals. It's either um cash deal or cash with stock. Because sometimes I do make a deal that the company that's acquiring me, they wanted to pay some with their company stock. Okay, either private or public. I will take that. I also take tokens, right? And then whatever I do with it is on my own. So most of the companies that I run, including fashion icons right now, since I've taken over as CEO, um, I put additional capital in it. So therefore, my personal stake is, of course, higher than Stephen and Anna, right? And so, yeah, so that's where I can safely and comfortably uh, answer when it comes to being acquired.
I like that. Very calculated. You have your number and you know where you need to be. And you'll wait for that offer when it's in that place. I like it. Simple math. And we're
Yes.
traders, and
Yep.
there comes a time letting go. Now, I want to go into the trading. Now, I'm sure you utilize your trading skills with businesses. It's like you're trading businesses. And I always say this to people when I talk about investments, I'm like, businesses, real estate, securities, they're all the same to me. When you come down to it, they're all cash flowing assets, or they're assets that appreciate, and you have some equity stake and you trade them because they all have cycles. Their life cycles, their economic marketing market cycles, there's business cycles when the same product can be at its high or at its low. And the goal is to try to buy it near its low when others aren't working on a certain sector you're building. So like NFTs, for example, they're really going through a tough time right now. And like open seas, those people are way underwater, but it could also be a good time to be building in anticipation for the future. However, you need to have some insights in these industries and be familiar with it to know that they will come back. I always like to say in stocks, not everything comes back. When there's a bubble, when there's some type of euphoria, everything seems to run. So when it goes down and it comes back, not everything comes back. How do you assess what's worth building and what will come back? Like, will NFTs be back in their glory like they were? Or was that just a bubble? And will NFTs have a day? Will they be like the meme coins, or how the meme coins are picking up? And with the trading, this is a multi-part question, and you could start anywhere you like. With stocks, I know you're still trading. How do you assess when it's time to sell? I know you're very non-emotional, which is how you have to be with trading. How do you assess, let's say with NVIDIA or these great AI companies, when it's time to sell?
Okay. So great question again, by the way. So I have always been very open that I have always been a trader. I'm not a long-term hodler, which is
Mhm.
a crypto word. Traditional is, of course, holder, right? I'm not a hodler, nor am I a holder. Why? Because I've been trained as a market maker, right? It's just like picture the armies, the navy, the snipers, right? We Donald Trump was just shot a couple days ago. We were talking about the snipers on the roof, how those snipers, when they shoot, the margin of errors they have is like close to zero. Like when they shoot, it's gonna be like gone, like done in one shot, right? So that's what I mean by training. So I was trained when I was in my 20s, early 20s, okay, as a market maker, a market timer, how to get in, get out, because that's what you do as a market maker, okay? Um, how you choose certain stocks for you to make a market, which will answer this next part of your question. Now, on the traditional side, how I choose stocks to invest in, like my private fund. right, would be I look at the fundamentals first. For example, NVIDIA has an exceptional fundamental with an exceptional future. Okay. The only downside to NVIDIA, and I'll be very frank and I'll share it here, it could be pure speculation, but the rumors are out there that they could be cooking their books the same way as Elon's Tesla. Now, there's a saying that when you lie enough and you could lie long enough that you could get away with it, then eventually the revenues and the sales earning will catch up to those lies, right? The lies or the fake numbers. So by the time that you're, let's just say, get caught, like the Bernie Madoff situation, if you remember, okay,
Mhm.
hopefully you will get a penalty and a fine instead of going to prison, if you know what I mean, right? So investing in anything has risk, and those are the risk, okay? So on traditional finance, I would choose a stock. Usually when I trade, I do load up a lot, like, because sometimes I would flip it within like just 10 to 15 points, which anywhere between 10 to 15 to 30% if it's within a week. Let's just say I barely went in and I purchased something, and 2 days later, I would get a 30% return. And my trades are not small trades, right? Why would anyone say no to a 30% return in just a couple days? You'd be foolish. So I would take my chips off the table. True. Whenever I do that, the stock could run some more, right? But that's all right because you've gotten the money in the bank, right? You've gotten the money in the bank. I don't chase after it anymore. Now I've traded Nvidia a number of times, and every time I exited, the stock did run up some more. But I didn't chase after it. Again, no emotion, right? So I would wait until it comes back either at the price that I sold it, and I would pick it back up. But then people would say, well, Jenny, that's just fucking stupid. You just sold it at 1,000. Now you're buying back at 1,000. What the fuck, right? Excuse the French. But logically, here's what they don't understand. The first time when I sold it at 1,000, let's just say Nvidia, it broke an all-time high. I didn't know how much higher it's gonna go, right? So I lock in the profits at an all-time high. You get what I'm saying because you're a trader, right? Then Nvidia runs to, let's just say, $1,200. And I said, oh, damn, I just missed $200 per share, right? So when I waited for Nvidia to come back to 1,000 this time, there's a clear technical analysis path. And that path is there's a 200 points run here. You get what I'm saying as a trader, right? So I come back in because now, unlike before I sold because Nvidia just hit 1,000 for the first time ever in the history of that stock. How do I know it wouldn't come back down to 900, right? But now, after I've seen it went to 1,200, for example, that's when you say, okay, I get you. Come back down to me, baby. And when it does, and giving the micro, macro economies are good, you got to put all that into perspective. The sector is still good and hot, which it is. Oh, hell yeah. I'll pick up Nvidia exactly where I sold it at, because then again, guess what happened? I would make a profit again, because Nvidia would immediately swing back up to 1,100 or 1,150. That's where I bail again and lock in another $100 to $150 per share, right? That is traditional finance. Now, let's come over to the crypto space.
Mm-hmm.
Crypto space, we don't have the fundamentals. So that's why if I were to gamble, I would gamble with my own money, like Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Pepe. You've heard some of those
Mm-hmm.
meme coins. So I would probably put a budget for myself. Let's just say $100 to $200,000 max. Now, if anybody out there is saying, "Boy, Jenny, that's little," I mean, 100 to 200,000, that's a lot to like gamble. Well, I know a lot of friends who gamble a lot bigger in Las Vegas. So trust me, it's not a lot. And not only that, I can comfortably say that that's a little to me, because that those amounts would be the gains that I've gotten from other trades. So even if I blew up the entire 100 or $200,000, I would have lost a piece of the gain that I've already made. It's not my principal money, right? So there's a difference, right? A lot of people, they don't understand that, right? So that's why there's a saying, it takes money to make money, right? So in the crypto space, I think I know Bitcoin's path very well. I've been trading it since 2015, of course. There have been many times that I did sell, and the same thing like Nvidia, it goes back up, but then it does come back down again for me to pick it up. Okay. And if it goes back up, that's okay. There's plenty of other crypto like Ethereum, Solana. I'm currently very bullish on Solana, because not only Tether Ball is paired with Solana, because Tether Ball is built on Solana, but there's a team behind Solana that is connected to the pumpster. I'm going to call it the pumpster of Silicon Valley, which are the venture capitalists who pump money into them, and they're still around. So I do believe that Solana, it's good, but in the crypto space, you just need to stick with the brand name ones. And what are the brand names? The Bitcoin, the Ethereum, the Solana. But the one thing I must add when it comes to being cautious when trading crypto is that it's highly sensitive. I believe more than Wall Street, for example. Um, Bitcoin and crypto, most of all, because Bitcoin is the leader. When Bitcoin goes up, everything goes up. When Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down, right? So Bitcoin was actually heading south. It was below, I think it dropped below 55 or 50. That tells you how busy I am. I haven't been looking at it. Right before Donald Trump was shot, okay? Because Germany was dumping a lot of Bitcoin. Not only that, and I'm not going to go into deep about this, there's a case about Mount Gox. Google it. It's MT, like mountain, Mount Gox. It's GOX. There's a case behind that they were withholding Bitcoin for a bunch of people since, I don't know, for the last, who knows, 10 years or something. So now that case pretty much got wrapped up. And so Bitcoin's got to be distributed back to the people, right? So obviously, if you're one of those person, You're, first of all, thankful that Mount Gox kept it for you, because if they didn't, you probably sold your Bitcoin a long time ago, right? So since Mount Gox kept it for you, and now 10 years later, your wallet has this huge amount of money because look how much Bitcoin has gone up. You're gonna sell. So from Mount Gox alone, given that I believe Germany is almost done selling, Mount Gox has $8.8 billion worth of Bitcoin to sell. So right when Donald Trump was shot, everything flew back up. And I think you understand why. It's because they're betting that Donald Trump will be the president. And based upon his promises now, okay, there are many skeptics, you know, in the crypto space. And a founder and CEO of a crypto exchange called BitMEX, BITMEX. He has a rap sheet himself. He's out in Florida. Um, he said that don't believe Donald Trump because he just in it for the votes. The same way as when the crypto industry believed Gary Gensler, that they backed Gary Gensler as the chairman of the SEC, because when Gary Gensler was at MIT, he was pro cryptocurrency. And then what happened? He did a flip. And then the crypto space hated him and wanted him to step down. So Donald Trump can play the same card, right? Donald Trump, like him or hate him, uh, but based upon his record, I'm just saying based upon his record, um, you know, uh, he's in it for himself mostly. Okay, everybody else it's just secondary. Whatever it's gonna work for him, he's gonna do it. So right after he was shot, and they were based the information from the last president that was shot, which was Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan won that presidency in a landslide. So they're based upon that. Well, most folks, they they think or they predict that Donald Trump will win. And so Bitcoin start running back up. I think yesterday was at 65. So it ran up 10,000 points, right? So at the end of the day, um uh it's unpredictable. Uh but the same side, which is traditional finance, I didn't see a lot of market movements right after the assassination. So that means traditional finance was more calm, right? But crypto, because of the lack of liquidity, okay, that any movement can shift Bitcoin in either direction. That's why it's very volatile and possibly extremely high risk. So you got to make sure you know what you're doing when you're into crypto. So that's pretty much it. So right now with this interview, I don't know when you're going to publish it, but today is Wednesday, July 17th. Um Bitcoin has cooled off a little bit because there are now news from both sides that the shooting was an inside job. So unlike Ronald Reagan, that was definitely not an inside job. If it is an inside job, then could we compare it with Ronald Reagan? We may not. And this week is the RNC, the Republican National Convention, which is going on. Today's the third day. We don't know if Biden and his administration will have a secret weapon that they will announce when it's the DNC's turn. Now, there's a lot of rumors out there from Michelle Obama may replace Kamala Harris. I don't know, you know, but until the Democrats under Biden, the Biden administration, step out and really make that announcement, that firm announcement, just like how Donald Trump picked J.D. Vance for his vice president, um, we will know how the election is going to head when it comes to November. So at the end of the day, uh, choosing crypto or stocks based upon fundamentals or technical analysis, which crypto only has TAs right now, you still got to play cautiously. I would still trade in and out. I'm not a long-term investor. I think I make more money by staying on the sideline and jumping in, jumping out. I like doing that. Than holding it for years and years and years. That's definitely not me. And I'll leave it as that. So that's that's fundamental analysis and technical analysis in choosing your investments for both traditional finance and fintech.
Thank you for that well thought out answer. I love how you use the political and the economic overlay, because that's so important. It's not just the actual stock or the sector, but it's looking at the whole environment, the whole landscape surrounding it. And there's a lot of rumors and there's a lot of uncertainty. It's an election year, a lot of uncertainty, regardless if it's, election years always swing one way and then the other, and they always go back and forth. However, this was an unfortunate tragedy this weekend. So, maybe we'll have more effects from that. We don't know, but trading seems to make sense. And that's what I do as well. I do have some long term, but you have to make your own decision based upon all these factors. So thank you for that great answer. Jenny, I want to go into your guiding principles. And we've been here, we've talked about so many wonderful things, and we definitely need to be wrapping up. But I want to just finish with your guiding principles in business and in life. Are there certain things you've learned along the way, certain things you've taken away? Because it's always also about what you don't do. It's not just about what you do, but what you don't do. And leadership involves courage. And you certainly have a lot of that. What are some principles that are important to you, that you follow, that you utilize?
Wow. Thank you again. Questions that, you know, that I would take a minute or two to think before I answer. And so, those questions are great questions. But values, definitely for one. I've been an entrepreneur for 2 decades, right? I started out in my young 20, actually 20. I'm over the big 40 now. I don't like to share my exact age. People can guesstimate based upon how I look. Now, obviously, not just pictures. I'm on live video with you right now. My Instagram page, my experiences, obviously, people can say, oh, definitely Jenny has a lot of experiences, so she can't be in her 20s. Some said possibly late 30s. I'm thankful for that. Of course, it'd be more relevant in my 40s. There are a couple news article out there that wrote about my age, but let me confirm it now. That's incorrect. Okay, that includes CNN. Okay, so the CNN article, they were supposed to make a correction, but I don't know why they never did. But that's fine. I mean, how can I say no to CNN, right? But that's not my correct age if you're taking it from that article. Um, but age is just a number these days, so it's not important. But back to your question. So I've been in the entrepreneurship world for about 2 decades, and I'm pretty active on social media. So, knock on woods, that I don't have a lot of bad publicity, no bad media. No one can come after me publicly or privately, such as, oh, Jenny slept with me. I'm going to be very blunt if you don't mind, right? Jenny slept with me because that's how she got there. I can share for the first time on your network now that I will write make that $5 million check for any man that who would claim that, because I take integrity not very lightly. Okay. I value who I am. And before I have a personal relationship with anyone, the heart has to come first. Everything that I've done up to this point has been my own mind, my sweat, my tears, and my two bare hands. Okay. Yes, I have great friends who are men and women who help me along the way, right? But it's also your own self that you got to make it happen. The same thing, like there's a very well-known quote, I believe. It says something like, you can take the horse to a pond,
I love it.
but you cannot force it to drink the water, right? So a lot of people, just like I've shared with you how I met that billionaire when I was in New York, I was introduced to him and I got the L interview because, again, he can introduce me to L, but when L interviewed me, let's just say if the interview sucks, they're not going to publish it, right? So like you mentioned, I'm a great speaker and I do believe that I am. I'm also an all right writer, which I believe that I am. I mean, all right meaning that a perfect 10, I'm not. A 9, maybe not. Maybe an 8. I think I will be anywhere between an 8 and a 9 as a writer. That's where I'm at, and I'm proud of it, right? I know I'm great with uh the financial sector. Um so because how I built myself since I was 20 years old on my own with no help at all. Do you think by the time I'm this age, I would let any man to take that credit away from me just because I have a relationship with a man? He happens to be, let's just say, a billionaire, a multi. That's why I kept my private life extremely private, because I'm the one that you should be looking at, because any successes that has to do with me, it is me and no one else that should take the credit for it, because the Lord knows I've gone through hell and back for where I am today. And I'm still not done. I'm still taking a lot of hits. So back to your question, giving that a little bit lengthier answer that leads to the word integrity. Integrity is, I value myself. I respect myself. I love myself. And so therefore, I take that and I deal businesses that way. Now, I don't always meet people who have the same integrity as I do. Whenever that is the case, I will walk away, because I'm at this age. I don't need it. I don't need to chase you. It's either you chase me or nothing at all. So when I give, and maybe the three ladies from the tetherball coin can testify, can attest that when I'm a part of something, I use my heart and I give it my all. And what goes, it's gonna go. Luck, the Lord, everything. Okay. But so integrity, that would be my response, how I approach businesses, partners, um, funding projects. Um, integrity comes with um, being honest, being truthful of who you are. Authenticity is a word, being authentic. And yeah, and I think that's safe enough for me to end there when it comes to how do I value businesses, people, etc. Integrity is the forefront.
Love that. Integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Integrity. That's beautiful. And that's a great way to end our discussion on integrity. I also share that value it's very important. If we don't have that, I feel like we don't have anything. Being true to oneself, being accountable, being honorable, noble traits and integrity. We love you, Jenny. You're
Yes.
fantastic. Thank you so much for
I love you
sharing.
too. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, we've gone through the tetherball meme coin. We've gone through fashion icons, and I urge everyone to follow you on X. Your Instagram is fantastic as well. Jenny Q Ta. I have to tell you, you Google your name, you're very easy to find. So, and we're grateful for you and all you do in your multiple communities that you've built. So thank you so much, Jenny.
Once again, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's such an honor for the second time around. We've had a great time, and I do greatly appreciate it. Whenever you and the hubby are out here in Orange County, please do ring me up. Plenty of places here. I would love to take you guys out
Thank
for
you.
dinner.
We look
Thank
forward
you.
to it. We look forward to spending
Same
time
here.
together. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.